Today, I really want to talk about something a little bit different. It's more about the business cheat. So those of you who may be self-employed or sole proprietors or who may have been laid off, I realized I need to do this to share with you guys who are in business. One of my patients just let me know that she was laid off yesterday, and she didn't know a lot of the resources that are available. So this isn't really Qigong, like our exercises related, but more about the business side, because I've been having to deal with this also as a small business owner for the last month and a half. So for those of you that applied, please stay, and I can share some resources with you about what you can do. Okay, but otherwise, it was good to see you guys, and we hope to see you tomorrow. All right, so for those of you who want to stay, there's some tips I want to share, and there's also a YouTube channel I want to share with you with a guy who's a CPA, and he has a lot of good information. So yeah, again, like if you are unemployed or you maybe got laid off, make sure that you are applying for unemployment, and there is the federal part of the stimulus, which adds an extra $600 a week, and that goes until July 31st. So, but if you're in California, that's not up yet, but it has also expanded so that it's not just for employees, but if you're an independent contractor, if you're a sole proprietor owning your own business, you'll probably be eligible as well for this type of unemployment. So make sure that when it does come online in California, that will be April 28th, I believe, so that's next week. Make sure that when that portal opens, you want to be there to file and apply. If you've never done unemployment before, probably now is a good time to make sure that you register and get yourself in the system. Okay, so that's one thing, and that applies to a lot of people. There's 3 other programs that you want to be aware of. That's through the Small Business Administration. You may have heard that they probably ran out of money, but the thing is that the House is going to pass a bill today where these programs are going to get more funding. So you want to make sure that you get in line to get your business funded. So one of them is the EIDL, or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. There's 2 parts to it. One is the advance, and the advance you don't have to pay back. And that's $1,000 per employee that you have in your business. If you're self-employed like me, you may have just 1 employee, which is you. So you'll get $1,000. It may not be a lot, but it helps you pay rent, it helps you pay for utilities, helps pay for maybe some of your salary, some of your business expenses. So there's no restriction on how you spend as long as it's for a business purpose. And they may check, so you want to make sure that you do document all your spending. But it is $1,000. There's no interest. It's just a grant. The other part is of the Economic Injury Disaster Loan is that there is an interest loan. It's about 4% or less, and that's a loan that you can get from the Small Business Administration. That's kind of, I would recommend that as like the 3rd option. There's another loan that's called the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. Again, if you're a sole proprietor, if you're self-employed, if you're a corporation, any of those things, you're probably eligible for it. Even if you don't have your own payroll, ideally you have a payroll and you can just export that from whatever payroll service that you have and send that over. But if you don't, if you have like a Schedule C, if you have 1099 miscellaneous documents, that will also work as well. And if you don't have that, have a profit and loss statement. But again, like that's money that's going to help you with your business, so you can pay your rent, so you can pay your employees, so you can also pay yourself. So all these things is important right now. So you want to make sure that you do access these programs, because there is more funding coming and it will run out. So you want to get in line with the PPP program. It is through your bank. And a lot of banks right now, I'm with Wells Fargo, for example, and it does require you to have a business account with them. So if you don't have that, there's a couple other options that you can use to apply for the PPP. One of them is that I'm applying for multiple because I'm waiting, and you're allowed to put in multiple applications with different banks and see which one comes up first. Of course, you can only take one loan. So I applied for Wells Fargo, which is my bank, and I'm in line, and they're like, well, we don't have any, we ran out of money because Bruce Chris took my money. Okay, so that's Wells Fargo for me, but some people might have Chase or whatever bank that you have. There's some other ones that don't really require you to have a business account. One is PayPal, so I would recommend, because I know of some folks who either they don't have a business account with their bank, or their bank is not doing PPP loans. And so PayPal, you can apply for, so you can go online, you can follow the link to their COVID-19 resources, and you would be able to put in an application in through there. Initially, it's like a pre-application, and then they follow up and ask you more questions. So you have to submit things like your Schedule C, 1099 forms, things like that. And then you'll get in line. So another option is that I also sent in for is Cabbage with a K. So they're not a bank themselves, but they network with a lot of different banks. So it's good to put in an application with them. And then therefore, in turn, when there is availability, hopefully they will be able to hook you up with a lender that can help you. So that's what the PPP, and a little bit more information about the PPP is that it is, once you get it, it's based on your monthly payroll. So if you don't, say if you're self-employed, you're a sole proprietor, so that'll be based on your net income per year, and then divided by 12. And that's how they figure out. And then they multiply that by 2.5 times. So if your monthly income is like, say, $10,000, so you would maybe be eligible for like a $25,000 loan. But you would have to use that in 8 weeks. And 75% of that has to go towards salaries, whether that's your salary or your employees or a mix of both. And then the other 25% would go towards things like utilities, things like rent, things like existing loans and servicing those loans, mortgage, things like that. So you have to make sure that if you do get it, that you do allocate that 75%. Otherwise, when it's time to report later this year, you may have to pay interest on that loan, and you may have to pay it back. But if you do use it for the right purposes, it is forgivable. So that's a good thing about that. But I would recommend going to sba.gov to find out more information both about the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, and the EIDL Advance. So there's two parts. The EIDL is, again, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. There's the Advance, which is a forgivable grant. It's $1,000 per employee. And then there's the EIDL loan, the normal loan. So that's not really specific to COVID, but just a disaster loan that they offer, like if you have hurricane, tornado, and obviously this right now. That one you do have to pay back the regular EIDL, and that is around 4% or less. So that's why I recommend that as your last option if you still need capital for your business. But otherwise, you definitely want to apply for the EIDL Advance, okay? And then you also, most of you, if you can, if it applies to you, apply for the PPP. There is more money coming for it, but it will probably run out. They say they'll probably run out in a few days or maybe a week if we're lucky. So you want to get in line and just be prepared for it. And again, I'm just sharing this information to hopefully help you guys, because a lot of you guys are either small businesses yourselves, or maybe you've gotten laid off, or even if you're like, say, only working part-time because they cut your hours, okay, you would still be eligible for some parts of unemployment. So I recommend you apply, and just to make sure that, you know, you can put food on the table, you can pay your rent, you can sustain your business, and because this is going to be a little bit of a marathon. I don't think this is going to magically go away in a few weeks or even a few months. We will have to deal with this for a while. So trying to be realistic and make sure you have all the right resources that they're there to help you get through these tough times. So if you have, oh, and that YouTube link, It's a guy who's a CPA out of Chicago. It's called Clear Value Tax. He's a CPA and he's been doing daily videos to keep everyone updated on what's going on with these different programs. He's offering tips on how to apply. So these things are really helpful, especially in this time when most of us are not accountants, and trying to keep track of all this in addition to everything else we have to do may be a little bit difficult. So let me see if I can just show you. Oh yeah. So this is the channel you want to look for on YouTube. Okay, again, he has like daily briefings and just little videos. He has stuff about the PPP, about the EIDL, about unemployment. So those are really helpful. If you're in California, those are good. And if you're trying to get unemployment, or maybe you're having trouble waiting for unemployment and stuff like that, there's a really good talk on KPCC Air Talk last week. I think it was last Thursday or Friday, where they had a bunch of people from the unemployment, the EDD office, answer a lot of questions on the air. So that recording is actually available on the KPCC website. So you can listen to that if you are applying for unemployment, or if you're trying to figure out if you are eligible. So anything related to unemployment, also the federal stimulus part of the unemployment that's expanded. So you want to make sure to check that out. I think that's really helpful. Again, that's on KPCC. I think it's kpcc.org. You can do a search for Air Talk. I think it's last Thursday when they had this show on unemployment. So make sure you check that out too, okay? And again, like, even if you're not an employee, you're a sole proprietor, you're self-employed, you're probably eligible for that federal part of the unemployment that's coming. So anyway, that's a lot of information. I'm gonna have this video available later today on our YouTube page. So there's a lot of stuff that I talked about right now that might be like, woo, okay? You can go back to that, do it again. I know it's not Qigong specific, but we all have our real lives, and part of that is running a business or being employed, and right now just trying to have all the resources available at your disposal that can help you.